Breaking news! Yes, my friends, we have a lot to discuss today. News knocking on our door and everything indicates that we will have changes. This has generated a lot of discussion on the web, so we will detail everything here. Be sure to click the like button. I know that many fans are in disbelief, but I prefer to continue keeping alive the dream of seeing our Browns in the Super Bowl. I know that one day it will happen. And what is your opinion? Right here in the comments. Now, let's get to the news. Russell Wilson was in Cleveland today. That's right. The former Super Bowl winning quarterback, fresh off his roller coaster season in Pittsburgh, is visiting the Browns. And tomorrow, he's heading to New York to meet with the Giants. Now, before we all go into conspiracy theory mode, let's take a step back and ask, what is really going on here? Because this move, this visit, looks like more than just a simple free agency meeting. Could this be a power play by Wilson? A message to the Steelers? Maybe even a strategic move by the Browns to shake things up in the AFC North? Think about it. Wilson's meeting with Cleveland sends a clear message to Pittsburgh. You think I'm done? Fine. I'm going to your division rival. I'm going to play you twice a year. Are you sure you're ready for that? And for the Browns, this visit could be as much about leverage as it is about genuine interest. If Kirk Cousins isn't available or doesn't fit into their plans, maybe bringing in Wilson is a way to keep their options open while also making Pittsburgh sweat a little. And let's be honest, Browns GM Andrew Berry operates in silence. No one saw the Kenny Pickett trade coming. No one expected the Browns to be finalists for Brandon Ayuk. That's what Berry does. He plays aggressively, like a fantasy football GM who refuses to sit still. He's always working angles, always making sure the Browns are part of the conversation, even if it's just to keep other teams guessing. And that's what makes this situation so interesting. Now, let's talk about Wilson as a quarterback. What would he actually bring to the Browns? Well, the decline has been happening for years. His last season in Seattle had flashes of his old self, but injuries and inconsistencies started creeping in. Then came the Denver experiment. Year 1 under Nathaniel Hackett was an outright disaster. Year 2 with Sean Payton? Better, but still not the Wilson of old. And then the Broncos made their stance clear. They'd rather pay him $85 million not to be on their roster than even keep him as a backup. That's a loud and clear message. He landed in Pittsburgh on a cheap veteran deal, thanks to the guaranteed money still coming from Denver. But even there, things were shaky. He lost the starting job to Justin Fields early in the season, got it back, and then, boom, the Browns broke the Steelers in the snow. The last 4 weeks of the season, an absolute collapse. Pittsburgh went 0-4 in that stretch and then got blown out in the playoffs. Wilson didn't just struggle, he disappeared when it mattered most. So now, the big question, should the Browns actually sign him? Look, the free agent quarterback market isn't exactly loaded. Wilson might not be the worst option, but does he inspire confidence? Does he give off franchise quarterback vibes at this stage in his career? Not really. If the Browns do go this route, it's not because they see Wilson as the guy who'll take them to the Super Bowl. It's because they see him as the best of a bad situation. Which brings us to Kirk Cousins. There's a belief out there that the Falcons might end up releasing him, which would make him an incredibly cheap option. Maybe even a veteran minimum deal. If that happens, you're looking at a quarterback who, when healthy, has put up big numbers, 500 yards and 5 touchdowns in a game last year. The problem? Injuries and inconsistency. But for the price, it might be worth the risk. Wilson, on the other hand, isn't going to come cheap. He's looking at something like a 2-year, $35 million deal. That's not breaking the bank, but it's still a commitment, one that could add more dead money to the Browns' books when they inevitably move on. So the question becomes, is it worth investing in Wilson when he hasn't been able to sustain success over the last few seasons? And then there's the draft. The Browns hold the number 2 overall pick. If they sign Wilson, does that mean they're not going to take a quarterback? Not necessarily, but it does complicate things. Would they really want to develop a young QB under Wilson and Kenny Pickett? That's not exactly an ideal mentorship situation. And if they do go that route, it would mean passing on top defensive talent to take a quarterback they're not even sure is their guy. So where does that leave us? The Browns are keeping their options open. Wilson's visit could be a legitimate move, or it could be a way to pressure other teams, maybe even the Steelers, to make a decision. Either way, it puts Cleveland right in the middle of the quarterback market drama. Now, I want to hear from you. Should the Browns sign Russell Wilson? Is he the right move? Or is he just another stopgap quarterback in a long list of names? Drop your thoughts below. And let's not forget the wild card in all of this, Joe Flacco. Browns fans have been buzzing about the idea of bringing him back, and for good reason. What he did in 2023 was nothing short of magical. Coming off his couch, stepping in when the Browns were down to their last hope at quarterback, and leading them to the playoffs, that's the kind of story that sticks with a fan base. But here's the reality check. Flacco is 41 years old. The Browns didn't re-sign him last offseason when it would have made sense, and now, after a stint with the Colts where he was fine but not great, Does it really make sense to go back to him now? His last game with Cleveland ended in a disaster. 2 pick sixes in the playoffs against Houston, and turnovers have killed this team the last 2 seasons. If there's one thing this front office wants to avoid, it's a quarterback who gives the ball away. So while the nostalgia factor is real, while Flacco's late-season run will always be remembered fondly, this probably isn't the direction Andrew Berry wants to go. It's one thing to enjoy a summer fling. It's another thing to try and turn it into a long-term relationship. Sometimes, it's best to just leave the good memories as they are. But here's where things get even trickier. What does this all mean for the Browns' overall offseason strategy? They've already made some surprising moves. Trading for Kenny Pickett wasn't exactly a blockbuster, but it was unexpected. Pickett isn't going to be the answer, but he's at least a backup with experience. They've also added some depth pieces, like Cornelius Lucas at tackle, an upgrade over James Hudson, and Devin Bush at linebacker. Yet, at the same time, they've lost some key players. Dalvin Tomlinson is gone to the Cardinals, and the Malik Collins signing, while still unofficial, suggests the Browns are shifting their defensive philosophy. Less of a true nose tackle, more of a pass-rushing presence on the interior. It's a gamble, especially in a division where stopping the run is everything. And then there's the looming draft. If Cleveland does not sign Wilson, do they go all in on a quarterback at number 2? That's where this gets fascinating. Because let's be real, this draft class doesn't have a surefire, can't-miss quarterback prospect. There are intriguing names, but no guarantees. And if the Browns spend that pick on a quarterback, that means passing up elite defensive talent. Would Andrew Berry really make that kind of move? Would he take a raw prospect and hope for the best, knowing the Browns are built to win now? Because make no mistake, this roster, outside of the quarterback position, is ready. The defense is loaded. The offensive line is strong. The weapons are there. What's missing is the right guy under center. So here's the real dilemma. Do you take a chance on a rookie and hope he develops quickly? Do you sign a veteran like Wilson or Cousins and try to squeeze out a playoff run? Or do you make a bold move, like a trade for a proven star quarterback, knowing it could cost future assets? That's why this Russell Wilson visit is so important. It's not just about him. It's about what it signals for the Browns' entire strategy moving forward. If they sign him, it probably means they aren't drafting a QB early. If they don't, it means they're either betting on a rookie or waiting for another opportunity to present itself. And then there's the AFC North factor. If Wilson signs with Cleveland, it changes the balance of power in the division. It forces Pittsburgh to either stick with Justin Fields or make their own move at quarterback. It puts even more pressure on Cincinnati and Baltimore to keep their edge. And if nothing else, it makes the rivalry games even spicier. So, Browns fans, it's time to weigh in. Do you want Russell Wilson in Cleveland? Do you think he still has something left in the tank, or is this just another stopgap move? Would you rather roll with Kirk Cousins? Or is the best move still out there, waiting to be made? Leave your thoughts below. Hit the like button and subscribe for more news. Go Browns!